Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a couple of videos I've decided because I can't make the videos too big, otherwise it takes years to upload them. So I'm going to do them in parts. So in this video I'm just going to show you how I go about the basics and some of the paints that I use on repainting a shell. In short, this is going to be the first part of a couple of videos where I make a police liveried class 37 to complement, well, my HST collection, to be honest with you, but it's specifically the executive livery, which is actually shown in an advert. I believe that was back in the 80s. I'd have to check, but here's a little snippet pic, and maybe memories will come flooding back, I don't know, but I'll remember it. So let's get into the video. But I'll show you, it's not this shell that I've repainted, so don't worry. This one I think could be fixed, but it might get a repaint. We'll start with the shell being primed in white, and we'll go from there. So enjoy the video. So this shell was a good candidate for a respray because it was all messed up very badly. All the buffers were ripped off, and I've actually just used like little picture hook tacks, and I just cut them down and glued them in. You see, when it's all white, you can't. It's not perfect by any means, but it's more than good enough for me. I like it. So yeah, I've primed this white, lots of coats. I'm just using some kebab skewers with white tack in the end of the body there, just to hold it, levitate it, so I can spray all the bits and there's no like hanging marks. But the next thing to do on here is to spray the ends of the loco yellow, as per the real livery. But before I do that, I'll just show you quick. This is the primer that I've used, Halford's white primer. It's acrylic compatible. I think it's acrylic paint as well, but that's beautiful. That works well. In fact, I've actually been spraying that into a cup and then pouring it into my airbrush and then spraying the model, so you get a finer paint. You can mix it with some isopropyl alcohol if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm back in my room, if you like. I've masked the ends. I'm not going for an absolutely perfect job here, but they should come up pretty good. Now, this is just painter's tape. It's kind of waxy in a way, but it's this stuff. It's 2-inch 3M painter's masking tape. I cut thin strips off the end, and you can kind of ply it into contours. And if you do it with a sharp knife with a flat blade, with a rule, you'll get a nice sharp edge. So I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do is just put some tape over the rest of the loco, because I need it to be white and I don't want yellow to overspill onto the other bits, so I'll just do that. And here we are. It doesn't look fantastic, but I've covered up everything I don't want to be yellow. That's the idea of masking. And like I say, I'm on these kebab skewers, so the idea behind this is I can stick it in something when it's drying, so nothing has to touch it. I've done the ends, and then I've gone over the ends again with a smaller piece, so there's a lot of overlapping there, so that paint doesn't go under the tape. You can probably get different tapes. You can probably use something like plasticine to even mask something off, but I'm happy with this. So next thing to do is to get some yellow paint and spray it on. Let's go do that. Okay, so I'm not going to show the whole thing because I need to actually spray, but I've got a handheld airbrush. I've got some Halford's Inca yellow with a dot of orange and some isopropyl alcohol to thin out a touch. And I'll just show you. Okay. Right, I'll come back in a minute. I'm actually going to use both hands here, so I'll come back in a minute and I'll show you what we've got. And here you go. So I've just painted the ends. This should be okay. You want to just do light passes, or at least do like one light pass and then give it a bit of a thicker coat, because the first coat then kind of sets the second coat quicker. We'll go back to my room in a sec where I do the videos and that, and what I'll do is I'll leave this here to dry. It's quite quick, so it's probably like 20 minutes and it'll be okay, it'll be dry. And then we shall remove the masking tape and see what we've got. Okay, so it's literally been like 20 minutes. I'm quite impatient, but the paint that I use is pretty quick, and because I thin it out for the airbrush, and it's come out of an aerosol already, it dries super duper quick. I always like this bit because it is a bit like I'm wrapping a present, although it's exciting and worrying at the same time because I'm using bright colours. The paint can sort of bleed sometimes under tape, especially with what I'm using here. And my concern is that it kind of did this sort of, it sucked itself under the masking tape, so just remove this. You want to try and be careful so you don't rip off the paint you've already done. That shouldn't be the case, but nonetheless, if you rip this off super quick, you're probably going to cause damage. So I always start with the brightest colours that I can, and that all depends really on the livery you're doing. And another thing to note here is I just saw in the camera, can you see how there's that like little score in the nose? I don't that doesn't bother me, because actually I'm looking at it in person and it's the camera that's picking it up. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb or anything, and I'm happy with it. I think it's like lower your expectations and then you won't be disappointed. But I always try and do a good job, as good as you can, and you just get better and better over time with things, and you learn different things, especially techniques like how to, in fact, actually overlapping masking tape. So I kind of did this backwards a little bit. I should have done this first strip here first and then done the one under it, because then when you spray from this direction, the paint would go over the layers of masking tape, not sort of into and under it. We should be okay. I was pretty gentle with how I was spraying it as well, because that's the other thing. If you cake the paint on, it will just sort of blot under your masking tape. Well, especially with the tape that I'm using. But yeah, I've had good results with the way I do things, so hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get to the good one in a second, that last one. Because if let me just get some tweezers. If this is good, and I haven't got to do some rework, the next thing to do, I think, will probably be on the roof of the police machine. There was I think there's some area around here is grey, so I might just go and do that. It doesn't take 5 minutes. It's so quick. It's just you have to be set up really to use the stuff. I'm lucky because I part of my job is basically painting in the real world, so I should be okay with doing this, hopefully. And I mean that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, actually. What I didn't want is it to like just catch under the paint and go skewy, like weird. You want a defined line. I think I'm liking that, actually. I've naturally gone with grain farish on this body. They put like a mould, and that is naturally where the yellow starts and finishes, so I just masked to that line. So is it wonky? Oh, I don't care. I like it. It's not actually, I don't think it is wonky, actually. I think it might just be part of the moulding, but whatever. If you were going to the extreme, right, so the other thing here on N-Gage is thin paint because you don't want to hide the details. If you just chuck on normal paint, as I've seen a lot of people do, it goes like bumpy and bobbly and stuff. Like if I catch the nose there in the light, you can just see there it's gone a bit like orange peely almost. This is what like an orange skin. I'm okay with that because I just wanted it yellow, because I'm yet to put all the decals on the loco, and I think I am going to spray the roof black, and I'll just check around the windows to see if they're black or not, because now is the time to be painting anything if you need to. So I'm just we'll have a look at the photo now. Yeah, so looking at that picture, the beauty of video editing, I've actually masked off the section on the roof that is going to get painted. I'm just going to go sprinkle it with some grey. I might just adjust that side, it looks a bit wonky. Okay, it looks a bit lower on this side. So I'll just do that, and then what I'll do is just like the yellow ends, I'll just mask off the area I don't want being grey so that the overspray doesn't get in there, and just make sure there's no little gaps. So I'll just mask this up, and the next thing we'll be spraying it again. Okay, so we're back. All I've done is I've sprayed some white primer in a cup. See how viscous that is? It's quite watery. And I've put a bit of matte black in there, or a bit of black, just to dull it down to get the grey that I think is close enough. And that'll just go in my airbrush, and we'll just spray it now. Okay. So I'm going to finish this and I'll show you it on the demasking. Okay, back in my little prepping room, I guess. So that's the roof sprayed. I'm going to remove the masking now, so nice little grand unwrapping moment like before. Generally I tend to use Halfwood paints because by the time you spray them into a cup to get the paint out of them, they're already going off, but they're quite thin. And then you can mix a multitude of things with them to thin them down. I've used 2K thinners to good effect in the past. But in this case I just put a bit of isopropyl alcohol in there. You want to just do a test piece so that you can check the paint doesn't react or anything. But it's just stuff I've done in the past, so I know it works. If you're going to try something new paint-wise, I would recommend doing a test piece and actually spraying with that paint as well, because it might not dry because you've put something weird in it. If you put white spirit in some of these paints, they probably wouldn't go off at a guess. Whereas if you put white spirit with oil-based paints, it will eventually go off and it's thinner. So that's an example right there. All these paints I believe are acrylic, and so far they all seem to be compatible with 2K thinners. I'm only saying all this because it might help you out, but I'm literally you can literally get the paint, spray it into a cup and spray it through an airbrush, which is exactly what I do, and the paint's nice and thin. As you can see, it's pretty good finish. It's no worse than Graham Farish's paint jobs. This is an old pool type chassis. See the white tack still in there. That'll just pull out, but let's see how clean the lines are. I might have really ballsed this up. I find myself using tweezers quite a lot with Engage. There we go. I want nice, clean, straight lines-ish. It's not bad, actually. And this is open to interpretation as well, because if you look at the photos, I'm in a dark, gloomy room here with a spotlight on this train. If I went outside, this would look a bit brighter. And actually, all that being said, when it comes to weathering certain things, I'm not necessarily going to weather this one, but I can by hand brighten that colour with enamel hand paints, oil paints. Yes, sorry, actually, I got that completely wrong. Use white spirit with oil paints. Enamel, I think you can clean that with white spirit as well, actually. But I just avoid this stuff because it doesn't really. I've not had any good experiences with it, other than oil paints for my weathering. But when you use oil paints, it takes ages to go off. I weathered a loco, and I'll show you in a sec. We'll just get this off. I weathered a loco, and it took a good 2 weeks to go off before I could actually pick the loco up. Okay, so that's the top done. Look at that. Pretty happy with that. There's a little bit of misting just there, but I can see it. But by the time that everything is on here, I'm not going to see that. I'm really happy with how that's turned out. And literally, that's now at the point where I can start adding like the lines down the side of the loco. I guess most people would probably spray that. I'm going to try and put water slide decals on here because it's a white loco. I can hopefully print onto transparent decal paper the lines and put them on. My worry at the moment here though is there's a lot of undulations up and down this, especially with the door, and then all these, like, I guess these are like coupling point, or not coupling, but like detachment points. They're actually set in the loco. You get a sharper line. I find I get a sharper line with doing decals, like a model kit. However, like I say, it's going to be hard to get in and out of these points. But that being said, if I sprayed this, I would struggle getting nice straight lines. And what I'll try and do is the decal paper first, and if I have no joy with that, then it'll be on to trying to spray the lines on. I definitely have to print the police decals on there. So anyway, in short, I'll show you this quick. This is what I meant with the oil paints. So I weathered this one up. It's probably not to everyone's standard, but I've not done the bogies or anything yet. I just wanted to try trying to fade the paint and stuff. I think it turned out okay. But before I could even touch that, I had to wait like 2 weeks. It was pretty crazy. They're probably just cheap paints that I was using, and I didn't thin the paint down at all, but yeah. So I think the next thing is probably for me to try some decals, maybe. Holding it in my hand, looking at it now, I love it. It looks really cool. It's nice to have something different that's not green or blue, or like a newer livery. I like the older stuff, so this is a nice weird one to do. Yeah, so I'm going to have a play with decals and things. What I think I might do is just do another video, so this one isn't super duper long, and I'll show you like the decal process in like part 2 or something. Because the spraying, it's down to personal preference. I use a little airbrush. You could just spray out of the can, but what you'll find is it will chuck more paint on your models than you want. And with my airbrush I have loads more control, and I can thin the paint down even more to make it almost just mist on. So I've got the base colours down now. So the next thing will be to sort these decals out. So join me in part 2, where we have a look at fitting those on here. Fingers crossed that they work, and because this is unknown, fingers crossed they work and it's not a paint job, because I really don't want to mask it out. But if I have to, I will. But I know the police bit itself, where it says police, I'm not sure if it's like here or there or wherever it is. I know there's one on the nose and there. Right, well, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thank you very much for watching.